you?
Folks, this is a little bobby here. This is what the men used to live in, just like the bobby I showed you on top of the mountain. And that is how these men lived. All dry stone walling, beautiful buildings these men were. There's a fireplace in and enough room for a bed. And that is how they lived for 2 weeks. So have a little look in as you pass it. Nice houses to go back to, nice warm houses, but these men lived here for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, because that's as much food as they could carry with them. And they would work in family groups. These were like the little Welsh valleys in actual fact. This was very insular. And so they all worked in family groups, like brothers, cousins, fathers, uncles. So 4 men would have to work here. What we've got in here is the same sill that's over there. It's just the glaciers came along, dug out all these valleys, and all that's been lost out of here. So that is how it was. It was all one once upon a time. So let's get inside the mine. Let's go and have a little look. Huge history of them triangle drill holes, ladies and gentlemen, because we know that that has been done by man, by candlelight, manually. He would have a hammer and a chisel, and he would hit the chisel with a hammer and turn it to third, hit and turn it to third, hit and turn it to third. This is to make the drill hole, to put the explosive in. And that is why you get a triangle drill hole, because he always turned it. Well, this was all a wall once upon a time, and it was no ordinary wall. It was a very, very important wall. The men called them plateaus, and these plateaus were the men's form of scaffolding. Now, of course, they didn't have scaffolding 300 years ago like we have today. And the more the men blasted out and the higher this roof went, the higher the men had to go. So to get higher, they built up these plateaus out of the way stone. They would stand the ladders on them, lean the ladders up against the rock up above, and drill in and blast out, all by candlelight. It's bad enough, and then you have the candlelight. And it made them drier, it made them safer, and it made them a more pleasant place to work here at Honister. This is Honister Incline, ladies and gentlemen. These men tunneled through here. They started this in 1890. They finished it just before 1900. So it took them nearly 10 years to complete this incline, and all of that time it was done by drilling in by hand and by candlelight. Now let me tell you that this is a major piece of engineering, even for us to do today, with all the wonderful modern machinery that we've got. So for these clever men to manage to achieve all this in their day, with the very basic tools they had and the very poor lighting, and let's not forget the accommodation they went back out to, yet they managed to do it so very beautifully, precisely, and with pride. They didn't know they were doing anything extraordinary at all, and yet we know today that they have done. And it's thanks to you, the public, Charlie Dimmock, Tim Marsh and the ground force team and the power of television and all the garden makeover programmes, ladies and gentlemen. Because the most phone calls coming into us when Mark was going bankrupt was, do you have monoliths? Well, monoliths are just lumps of stone, as you know, standing. And we got millions of tons of these monoliths. So they go, right, so what was all this about? All the corridors. Well, these men, as I've said to you before, were very, very clever men. We tend to think we're much brighter and more intelligent than we were 300 years ago. But when I see what I've seen in here, when Mark brought me in, I think that these men were a lot more brilliant than us. They didn't have the computers and different things to help them along like we have today. Everything had to be done in here, in the head, and they did it absolutely beautiful. Very clever men, and they knew the most damage done to this rock was blasting it away from itself. And they knew that in 1960 they were in deep trouble. They knew that they were using Welsh slate to build. They knew that things were only going to get worse, and they were just very insular, these little valleys, like the Welsh valleys, as I've said before, and they wanted to make sure that their sons and their grandsons, when they left school, would have a place of work to come to and make money to bring up their families. And they were desperate to keep Honister afloat. And this is what all this was about. It took 2 men 3 months to core drill all the way around the base of the slate. And what they were doing is they were creating a fault line. A fault line so they could blast this a little bit gentler. Thus, it will break away at this weak point here, saving a bigger percentage for slate. And in actual fact, it worked.